there's a very big number of people in this country and in the US of A who think that we cannot just continue to hand over billions and billions of pounds in either money and cash or weapons to Ukraine in order to kind of continue a conflict which appears to be entering a kind of stalemate phase.
Mike, that's the frustration, because in the U.S., we're talking well north of $100 billion that's already been given to Ukraine so they can protect their borders. Meanwhile, the U.S. southern border is wide open with terrorists coming through on a daily basis. So it seems like to many voters here in the U.S., the priorities are all out of whack. And we really don't know where this money is going. There is no accountability as far as, okay, we're giving you more than $100 billion. Is it really all going towards weapons and defense and to help feed soldiers? Or Ukraine, which has been an historically corrupt country, is something else happening here? And the frustration is that now that we're more than 2 years after this war began, it seems, you use the exact right word there, Mike, stalemate seems to be perpetual. In other words, the Russians and the Ukrainians are bogged down in the east. The Russians can't get to Kyiv or any major city, and Ukraine can't push Russia out. So I have a feeling that we could be talking in the year 2029 about the 7-year anniversary of the Russia-Ukraine war, where nothing has really changed. So I think people just want to hear, okay, is there any negotiation? Is there any end game here? Or are we just going to keep throwing money at the problem with no end game in sight?
Well, that's the funny thing, isn't it? Because, I mean, I was looking earlier on at Tommy Lauren tweet, and she, of course, is a regular guest on this show. She says she sends a message to Vladimir Zelensky saying, sorry, pal, we've got our own invasion to worry about. Go shake down the rest of Europe. Which I take it she means including the UK in that. And this is what a lot of people feel like. They feel like, well, hang on a minute, there is no plan here as such. And while we talk about making peace work in the Middle East, and many people, including Joe Biden, say, well, it might involve Israel having to, sit down with terrorists. Well, how about if you want peace in Ukraine, it might involve sitting down with the Russians and saying, well, maybe we'll give you a bit of the land and maybe we can end the war.
Yeah, that would be nice to hear, right? And we keep hearing from Zelensky that, no, we're not going to give, even 1% of our land over to Russia. Okay, so then what's your plan if you can't get them out just to have more men dying? I mean, a whole generation of men have basically been lost in Ukraine, and Russia will just keep throwing bodies at the problem until they finally can win that war. And then you hear the argument, Mike, that, well, if we allow Russia to take some parts of Ukraine now, they're going to march into Poland next towards Warsaw. Right. I'm sorry, the Russian military doesn't scare me all that much anyway, because they look more like the Vermont National Guard. Right. I mean, they have old tanks, and they've lost, more than 500,000 soldiers? I don't think the appetite is there at all to start trying to take back Poland and Eastern Europe, because I don't think they have the capability, quite frankly, Mike.
Well, exactly right. I mean, I had a conversation with Bill Browder late last month in which he was telling me all about how everything Putin says is for his own national sort of, domestic audience, and he says a great many things which he never intends to do. And when he said to me that, if we don't stop him, he's going to go into Poland next, I said, well, how do you know that? He said, well, because he said so. I said, well, hang on a minute. You just told me that everything he says is for domestic consumption. You can't have it both ways. Right. Browder, of course, hates the idea of Donald Trump getting in, and actually said to me, if Donald Trump gets elected, we will have World War III. I don't believe that either.
Wow. Well, maybe if Trump were president before, we'd know exactly what the world would look like when he becomes president again if he wins in November. Oh, that's right. He was president before, Mike, from 2017 to 2021. And at last check, I don't think Russia walked into Ukraine and invaded that country. And I'm pretty sure that ISIS was a big, big problem under the Obama-Biden administration that Trump eviscerated. I'm pretty sure North Korea was doing daily tests of nuclear weapons over Japan, over Guam, threatening the United States, until Trump said, you will be met with the fire and fury, the likes of which the world has never seen. And suddenly Kim Jong-un was behaving. And China certainly wasn't eyeing up Taiwan the way they are now, as far as that aggressive posture. So yeah, under Trump, I'm pretty sure the world was infinitely more stable than it has been under Biden over these last 3 years.